Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 207, and today we're going to be doing battle with Hecarim. And so, it's Halloween for me, happy Halloween yesterday for you. We had to get something spooky together for the holidays. I initially thought, what's the scariest thing that you could do in this meta right now? And that's Seraphine. And I was like, well, we're not going to play Seraphine. I was looking around, there is the card Ghost, that's very apparent and on point, but I think this is going to be just a little bit spookier, running around with everyone's favorite horseman and Hecarim, and then all of the spooky ghost-like friends we get out of the opulent Foyer, the Shark Chariot, and the Strike Up the Bands for the other hallowed units. And so, very Halloween, very on theme. I'm excited to bring this to you. And so this is kind of an interesting deck to me. It's something that you never really saw a ton of ladder play. Like various flavors of the Shark Chariots decks have been around for quite a while, whether or not it's just with Hecarim or with Lucian, or the popular one right now is going to be with Hecarim Zed. But it's never been a particularly strong like ladder contender, right? It's always been kind of held in check by pirates, and so it never really had that chance to climb up the ranks. And so we would see it in best of three if you're bringing a lineup to where you just planned on banning pirates. Then it does present a unique and interesting way of attacking at your opponent, which is a little challenging to go after if you aren't directly ready to attack the style that we're doing here. But, the interesting thing I wanted to pull up is I don't understand where this has really come from in this meta. If we head over to Legna's site, this is LLORR-stats.com, it's very interesting to see the Hecarim Zed is the second most played deck of the past week. This is in Diamond and Masters, and it just really strikes me. It doesn't have a positive win rate against anything. Like it loses to Seraphine, it loses to all the Vayne decks. It just doesn't have many particularly good matchups across the board, yet it still maintains the second highest play rate of the format. And so I'm curious what the story is behind this picking up so much steam. If there was a content creator right at the beginning, if like Mega Mogwai was like, ooh, LOL, this just smashes Seraphine. Completely wrong, but that's that's one of the things that can kind of give a deck some steam. And then as people just say, oh, I don't know what to play, let me pull the top deck off the tier list, they just see this at the top and start running with it. Like, I don't know the entire story. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen too much of this throughout this entire meta, but it always strikes me as odd and interesting, and I'm curious as to why Hecarim Zed is so popular these days, given that it loses to all the big decks of the format. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting note. But in terms of the specific deck list we're looking at here, that deck we were talking about is the Hecarim Zed version, which is significantly more popular than this one. Here you can basically say we're replacing Zed with the opulent Foyer. This lets us do one thing in particular, in that our units just don't die to Mystic Shot, right? That is the big concern with Zed in the meta right now, is if you're facing any of the P and Z Seraphine decks, you're going to have to face up against all of the variety of Mystic Shots, High Notes, whatever the Cultist Mystic Shot is, just all kinds of things to worry about, loads of different ways to take down Zed. And so bringing in the Opulent Foyer, it does a couple of different things, right? It still gives us that ephemeral unit. We're looking for the Living Shadow from Zed to be the main way to bring back our Shark Chariot. Here we're going to have access to these ghostly bands every turn. It gives us a little bit of defense in a deck that is usually pretty all-in on its units, right? Shark Chariot can't block, Sparring Student's very small. Onslaught of Shadows you don't really want to play on your opponent's turn, and so it does give us a little bit of defense, and then those Hallowed units do stack up and count into some relevance as the game goes on. And so our Moonlit Gatekeeper, if it generates a sapling, it's going to get the bonus from the Hallowed. If we're attacking with Hecarim, his big Overwhelm attack can get the bonus from the Hallowed as well. So it has some nice little combos throughout the deck. But the three main pillars of the deck as I look at it are you have your early game non-ephemeral bros, you have your Shadow Apprentice and your Sparring Student. This is the big piece of the big damage chunks that you'll be delivering. The way that you want to consistently boost these two units is going to be through the Shark Chariot. Shark Chariot is kind of the second pillar of the deck. This is going to be our big value engine of the deck, giving us bonuses on the attacks on our turn between our Foyer and our saplings and what have you, and then on our opponent's turn through things like Dragon Ambush. And then the third piece of the puzzle here beyond the Shark Chariot is actually getting those ephemerals on the board. So the Opulent Foyer on our turn, Moonlit Glenkeeper making the sapling, right? The Dragon Ambush on the opposing turn. Just a nice cycle of combos. So if we have the Apprentice on board, he can get boosted by the Shark Chariot. That's pillar number 2. Then the Shark Chariot can be repeatedly brought back on board with our various ephemerals. And so the last thing I'll say with this before we jump into the games, it is a very aggressively styled strategy. Again, our units just don't block, right? We're not blocking with Fereth, we're not blocking with Shark Chariot, we're not blocking with our 1/1s. And so we need to kind of be all in at all times as possible, just trying to slam that damage into our opponent. The way that's, kind of, if you want to be really Sun Tzu-y about it, saying the best form of defense is a good offense, though the way that we're going to try and actually protect ourselves is through attacking. And so if we can get our opponent to block our Shark Chariots and lose their units, then they won't be able to attack us with those units on the next turn. And so this is it. This is what we do in battle with. We'll head on in now. You all know what we have to do before the battles begin, though. We have to come in and pay the pay-to-win price. And so the pay-to-win choice of today is going to be Dragon Ambush. It's a pretty good way to go about it, right? You get the 2 premium dragonlings on the board. We get to burst down our opponent kind of unsuspectingly, if you will. And it feels pretty good. I'm glad we chose him as our premium of choice. So, all right, we got the scary horseman ready to go. Halloween is upon us. Let's jump on into battle. All right, more scary stuff on the other side, right? I don't know what's scarier, a giant horseman or a spider, but who am I to decide, But all right, in terms of this, the things we want to be looking for are the Sparring Student, we want the Shark Chariot, and we want the Shadow Apprentice. Outside of those, we can just mulligan away everything else. We're really looking to get the Sparring Students on board. It's just a card that's not that good on turn 5, turn 6, right? We need to hit our opponent with as much power as we can, as early as we can. Excuse me. All right, and then a reasonably high-powered draw here. One of the things you can start to pull off is playing the Fading Memories on the Shark Chariot. And then since we're going to get more Shark Chariots in the future, we can ideally start summoning back 2 of these each round. And so it's certainly a reasonable target for the Shark Chariot. In terms of our sequencing this game, though, are we actually going to use it? And I think we probably will. Like, I'm kind of okay with on our next turn, or on the next turn, the opponent's attack token, we just drop this second Shark Chariot. We're not going to be able to block anything. That's okay. On the follow-up turn, we're going to have 5 mana, so we can do both Onslaught of Shadows and Strike Up the Band. And then on our opponent's next attack token, 2 attack tokens from now, we can hit him with the Dragon Ambush, which when we play this after we've lost a couple of Hallowed units, our Ambush is going to get the bonus Hallowed attacks. So go ahead and drop in the Shark Chariot. The Oblivious Islander, not really looking to drop onto this board. We could bring it in now as a means to block this Hallowed dude, but we would have sequenced our hand wrong, right? We needed to shrink up the cost on the Shark Chariot if we wanted to have this 5 mana next turn for the Onslaught Strike Up the Band. And so, damage incoming. All right, let's get all of our ephemeral friends on the board. Horses ready to go. Are these horses? They're spectral riders, right? Oh, they look like more centaurs. More centaurs coming at us. I love it. If you're familiar with the classic film, I love. Oh no, it wasn't I Love You, Man. It was. Role Models. Role Models was the one. It's get all these Paul Rudd movies mixed up, but Sean William Scott, Paul Rudd peddling out Centaur when they get into their shenanigans that send them off to community service. Fantastic movie if you're not familiar with it. I've watched it recently. I think it still holds up. You gotta kind of observe these movies that are 10, 15 years old. You never know if they're gonna stand the test of time, and I think they're good. But here, back to the action, we might have lost this one. I think that we He's just going to open attack and kill us now, right? We probably should have gotten that Islander down last turn. Preventing 2 damage wouldn't have been enough, I don't think, but it would have been a little bit more of a safety net. But GG. I guess well, the Dragonlings, they would have gained 4 there. It's so tough, right? And that, like, if you play the Dragonlings on your own attack token, then you lose out on all the attacks, and so it just feels a little bit stronger there. But given the state of the board, maybe that's just what we had to do to survive. All right, off to battle with Ezreal Seraphine. So what do we got here? Again, we're looking for the Sparring Student, we're looking for the Shadow Apprentice, and we're looking for Shark Chariots. None of that stuff is here, so we'll just take a full mulligan. There we go. And a little bit of the stuff. Not cool, bro. Not cool. So an interesting spot here in that, how do we feel about wanting to get this Moonlit Glenkeeper down on turn 4? It got a little bit easier now that we picked up the Fereth, but we were going to have to decide if we want to save the Oblivious Islander as the means to get the Glenkeeper down with Nightfall. All right. Seraphine active. If you're not familiar with the work of Drissoth, he always hangs out in the top 10 or so of the NA ladder. He hit rank 1 at some point this season, and then love it or hate it, as much as you may or may not have liked the Nami of past seasons. He is the the reason for your upsetness. He has been the kind of main source of being really good at Nami Twisted Fate. But he put up a fantastic article on the Reddit about the space that Seraphine has in the meta and the problems that she's caused in terms of what we're seeing right now. It was a pretty fantastic read if you want to head over to the Reddit and see something positive for your life. Troll Chant. The kind of gist of it is, basically the units in any card game kind of either come down to basically threats or answers, and so you're either going to have in the LOR comparison, it was going to be that you would either have a Legion Rearguard as the means of a unit that's just too efficient to really deal with removal spells, or you're going to have value-based cards, so you can say something like Conchologist, to where Conchologist comes down on the board, and then your opponent kills it, but you don't care because you replaced it. And the problem with Seraphine is she hits every angle, in that she's too efficient to really want to deal with, right? You don't want to be spending your removal spells on a 2-cost unit. She replaces herself, as you would see with Conchologist, and then she's also just this kind of must-kill threat because she has the ridiculous flip piece attached to her. And it's a pretty interesting piece of commentary if you're wanting to take some time and go read that. But this game should be pretty done. Opponent handled our opener quite effectively. We weren't able to get a Shark Chariot attack on the last turn, and that's going to be our downfall here. So we'll see. There's a chance that he'll let us, come in and open attack next turn. It's probably short of the lethal, but it will be a full collection of units attack. And so if he doesn't take down the Hecarim now, we'll get to open attack with a full board. Looks like he's about to send the powder-kegged Mystic Shot at our Hecarim, but very powerful open if he doesn't go for it. Probably still just straight up short of lethal though, right? he's at 10, and we don't have a lot of great ways to deal with this. right, well, let's see what you can do, big boy. We'll get you down next turn, but my expectations are low. I'd say 9 times out of 10 we're going to play the Hecarim and he's just going to die. Now, we probably should have picked a different unit with our Islander. Right now, if we add the Hecarim and he just gets killed, we can't bring back any of the Ephemerals. And so we probably should have put the Islander on the Soul Shepherd so that we would just have the opportunity to get a second Ephemeral on this turn. But I suspect we're going to run into like a Disintegrate play and our turn's just going to be done now. Oh boy, we didn't get rid of the powder kegs last turn. Ugh. That's kind of disgusting. Okay, GG. You're better than that, Hecarim. You got to get a game for us today. Alright, GG. Oop. There we go. Next battle. And so, the next thing I wanted to talk about, if you're a big fan of the soccer, the American version of soccer, not that European stuff, the National Women's Soccer League, their championship was this past weekend. I got to watch the Kansas City Current do battle in the World Championship, right? Everything in America is the World Championship, and so we got to watch the ladies do battle there. They weren't victorious, but it's apparently quite the turnaround from the previous season. I think they got last place last year, and so going from last up into the championship the following year, pretty good stuff. But watching it and thinking on it made me want to bring up 2 separate things. Like, number one, I've seen a lot of complaint in the Twitter space over the past the past 2, 3, 4 weeks. Once everybody kind of realized that. There isn't a lot of competitive Runeterra happening between the previous set seasonals and then going into February. I think February is when the next seasonals is, and the thing with that is you got to go out there and just like watch. You got to go out there and do stuff, right? You got to get out there and play. And if you wanna have nice things, you have to be a part of the process. And I used to run into that quite a bit. Where I was from in West Virginia, just people being like, there's not anything to do. This is so boring. And it's like, well, did you go to the comedy show? Did you go to the concert? Did you go to this? Did you go do that? And it's like, no, man, that sounded boring or that sounded stupid. And it's like, well, if you're not going to contribute, then nobody's going to come, right? If you don't go to the comedy club once a month and buy the beers and support whatever random Joe's turning up, then nobody bigger is ever going to come, right? If you're just going to be a waste of time, right? They're not going to show up and perform at your place, and you're never going to get bigger acts and bigger artists into your venue. And it's like, well, I don't want to see the stupid ones. Well, then you're just a part of the problem. And I think that ties in like reasonably well with what we're seeing out of quite a bit of the land of Runeterra, and that a lot of people are like, well, there's nothing to do now. And it's like, well, did you play in any small events? Did you help advertise a small event? Like whenever the advertiser sees the numbers from the Runeterra event, and they're like, well, why would I provide a prize pool to an event that has 11 people in it? Then it's like, well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? In that, if you're not going to play because the money isn't there, and then the advertiser's not going to advertise because there's not any players, somebody just has to, suck it up and get in there, right? And I think that's mainly, kind of on the community and on the players, and that if you don't want to be the one to get out there and play the events that have a small number of people in it, then you can't really complain about the lack of nice things. And so I know I kind of fall into that camp as well. Like, I think it would be great if there were more events out, but I don't participate in the Mastering Runeterra stuff. I don't play in the smaller stuff, and so it's safe to say I'm a part of that problem as well. But if you want to be a part of that community, then you got to jump into the event. You got to try and get your friends to play. You have to get out there and do stuff if you want to have those nice things around. So that was the first thing I was thinking of with the current. Like, I have no desire to watch soccer. It's just I don't. It's not that I don't like it. It's just you have to kind of prioritize your time, and that's not a time priority for me right now. And so, but you know, you watch them. If you want to have nice things like that, if you want to have professional sports, or if you want to have fancy restaurants, or if you want to have indie movies, whatever it is, you have to go out there and watch that stuff. And so, I can handle watching a game of soccer on national television to kind of do my part in hoping that the Kansas City community stays big in terms of sports and those kind of things stick around. But the piece number two of that is, you know, people also talk about viewership in terms of where Runeterra stands and how they could do better, how they could do worse. My real struggle with that is I can't follow it, right? I pull up the soccer game. I've maybe watched like 2 games of soccer in my life. I played when I was like 8, you know, like I have a bare minimum understanding of the game, but I do get that, you know, the big point is the team is trying to kick the ball into the goal, and that's how you score points, right? That's kind of the easy way to figure it out. Or if you want to say, look at something like baseball, right? You hit the ball, you run a circle. If you hit the circle, the spot where you started before the other team hits you with the ball, then you get a point, right? Or if you're watching football, very similar to soccer, you just run around, and if you get the ball to the other end of the field, then you get some points. Now, you can even, you know, push that over into the video game space, right? You say, all right, well, Bust, I want to come out and watch some Call of Duty, right? And it's like, okay, well, you have some versions to where you just try to kill the other team. You have some versions where you play capture the flag. You have some versions to where you sit in a certain spot, and if you keep the enemy kicked out, you get points. Like, it's fairly easy and straightforward to be like, oh yeah, I get what's happening in this game of Call of Duty. Now, if you're looking at a game like this one, right, we're a casual observer. We've turned on the Legends of Runeterra. Who's winning this game, right? As it stands, we probably have like a 2% chance to win this game. But we have bigger units on the board. We have more health. Opponent has more cards in hand. But how are you like actively figuring out who's winning this game? Couldn't fucking tell you. And so it's very hard to watch in that sense. And so you can carry that over to Magic, right? I played Magic for 10 years competitively, like 15 or 20 across my lifetime. But if I was watching Worlds over this past weekend, they had Worlds, I think, at the Magic 30 thing. I wouldn't be able to tell you what was going on, who was winning. Like, I don't know what any of the cards do. It's extremely, extremely, extremely hard to follow. And, I don't know what the answer to that is. If you put, flashier stuff on the screen, or you try to put some indicator of who's winning. Magic, I know, like, the last time I was trying to follow competitive stuff, tried to do something weird to where they were like, trying to specifically tell you this person is at an advantage right now. And I think they put something on the screen to help try and indicate that. But, overall is pretty challenging to figure out who is physically winning a game of Magic the Gathering. And so, I wish there was an answer. I don't have it, but I think that's kind of problem number 2 in trying to get people involved and invested, is that there's not a very easy indicator to say, oh yeah, this guy's winning the game right now. So here, this one, we'll actually talk about this physical game. This is a spot to where you do have to kind of watch yourself, to where Hecarim can die, right? If Hecarim dies, all of our units down here lose that bonus for being ephemeral. You can find yourself in the spot right there, since we had the 2 units from the opulent Foyer, that we could just attack with those and get all of our shark chariots back, and then not risk Hecarim in combat. And so, in that space, he could have blocked Hecarim with Seraphine or something and played a Disintegrate, taken him off of the board, and then we would have lost that bonus to all of our units. And so, that didn't really apply there, but that's something to watch out for if you play with Hecarim. And you want to have all of your ephemerals to the left of him as much as you can. All right, into the next set of battles, though. I'm just going to mulligan all of this, right? I want to find our shark chariots. I want to find our sparring students. I want to find our little ephemeral boosted elusive guy. we gotta get our cheap friends out here. All right, so we do have a legitimate question on this one. Is if we want to roll around to turn 4, that's when our next attack token is. We're gonna want our Glen Keeper to be as big as we can, and so I'm sorry, we're gonna want to have the Nightfall for our Glen Keeper, and here we're just going to make our Sparring Students as big as we can. But as we roll around to that next turn, if we want to hit that Nightfall, we're gonna have to find a way to have the mana for it, and so we should be okay, right? We can spend a couple of mana next turn and then still be able to Onslaught of Shadows plus Glenkeeper, but we definitely don't want to run into the disaster that is being on turn 4 without being able to boost him. Here we can just safely pass. He might just send it right back to us. That's fine. I don't want to lose either of our unit boosters, though. But we had plenty of mana for next turn, even if he passed it back. Get everybody in, right? The downside with this one is if we add the Sparring Student and then we play the Glenkeeper, we're going to lose out on one of our guys. But I think I'm still good to just add the Sparring Student, Onslaught of Shadows, and Sandsworn Amulet, and see if that gets us in close enough of a spot. Do we change our mind now? Now that we want to hook the Greenglade duo? Probably. Let's start with this Amulet and see if he adds another unit to the board. Right, as it stands, our Apprentice is fearsome. He can't block it with the Greenglade duo. If he adds another unit, then we can Glenkeeper. If he doesn't, we can Onslaught of Shadows. Nopeify. It's kind of messed up, dude. That wasn't on my radar of awesomeness. Okay. Oh man, is he going to have the combat trick here as well? He does. That's at least fairly promising, right? As long as we're getting ourselves into this space to where we can get Hecarim on the board, I don't think I worry about that a ton. Hey, Duder, you got your hooks in. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and run out the Glenkeeper. I'm not familiar enough with the Zed deck as I should be. I don't think they typically play... I don't think they typically play bounce spells. So we should be okay to get our Hecarim on the board next turn. It's really behind in terms of flipping, though. Alright, bring in the squad. I assume he's going to do something to take down the Glenkeeper, but I'm okay with killing either of these units if we can, between the Hookmaster and the Zed. The Twin Disciplines. Okay. Sure. So we'll end up losing our Hecarim at the end of the day, but the big thing with this is he's going to be pretty far away from lethal next turn, right? If he doesn't have all these combat tricks to add to his Zed. Let's bring in all the thunder here. Sure. And so we're going to want to copy something. I think we want to copy the Hookmaster, just so we get access to a different equipment. All right, board cleared. Stagehand was a fantastic draw. Give us a nice shutdown onto Zed next turn. Probably don't even want to bother with Zed, right? We'd probably rather have him block, just try and shoot down the bird. Okay. He's out of stuff at this point. I think we want to add the Hookmaster just as a unit next turn. The only downside to not playing it now is going to be if we pick up a Hecarim, but having already played one, our chances are fairly low. All right, Hookmaster, what you got? Set in the place for the Rake. The Rake is quite good with Hecarim, getting to attack with him twice, but the game should just be over at that point. Pretty cool. We can't stun the Zed and stop him from getting tumbled, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Well, at least we get a hallowed for our efforts. So now, like it's like even if we try and pop the Zed, he's still going to be big enough to block. But I think he's still the one we want to send in. I'm just going to stagehand down the combat cook, and then we can put the Sandstorm amulet onto the stagehand. So if he wants to block the stagehand, he has to do it with a real unit here. But I suspect the space we're in now, right? We don't have any real blockers here. He's just going to be able to survive the turn and then open kill us with Zed next turn. Yep. GG. We have been bested. Got another little tip for you. It's a little late now, but I like to be prepared. I gave everyone some great advice here recently in terms of being prepared, having Pepto-Bismol on hand in case you have incoming gastrointestinal distress. And this scenario came up last year, and so you say, hey, Halloween's coming up. I don't want to deal with any trick-or-treaters. If we need to get candy, let's do it now. And of course the wife says, no, we have enough, don't worry about it. And so you say, okay. And then right before trick-or-treat's about to happen, right before the kids are all going to hit and everything, she drops this knowledge bomb on me of, oh yeah, you need to go get some more candy. Now, I can't tell you if you've ever gone to like the local corner store at like 5 p.m. on Halloween. There's going to be about 35 people all crowded around that little bit of candy that they have, just hoping that they can pick up a bag because their wife sent them to the corner store at 4:45 on Halloween to pick up additional candy. And so I had to dig with the masses last year. I was not particularly happy about it, but that's life, you know, what are you going to do? So now, come this year, I said, oh, I'm bust. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to get just like 10 bags of this stuff. Not 10 bags. It was like a $20 bag of the goodies. So I just don't have to deal with it later. So this is, he hits the student instead of the chariot. Okay. And so it's like, all right, I'm going to be ready. So I got the bag. I said, this is the bag. If you expect me to have candy out for Halloween, this is going to be the bag. She says, all right, cool, sure. And so, of course, she gave out like 3/4 of the bag before 3/4 of the bag before Halloween even got here. And then now to fill it up, she went and got shitty candy. So she put a bunch of shitty candy on top of my good candy. So the little kids are going to be coming up, just getting the bad candy and being really upset about it. And so I'm a little worried that the little hellions are going to roll around and fuck with my stuff because old Bust didn't get the good candy. But you just got to dig down to the bottom. You'll find it down there. We're not dead here, right? So the idea with this is we're just going to get the Ghastly Band down, block something. He's going to be able to rake it. Oh, he doesn't play the rake, though. I feel like we've said that a lot this game. But if you magically live in the Kansas City and you swing by old Bust's house and are upset about the shitty candy, it's not my fault, dude. It's not my fault. And just dig to the bottom of the bowl. That's where all the good stuff is. You don't want the circus peanuts or whatever shit's just on top. All right, here we go. So let's see if he has a Vayne. Vayne is the kind of interesting and important one here. We can get around Vayne a little bit. Doesn't seem like he has it. So we're going to just attack with everybody. Got one unit growing that can fight a tough. The 2 Shark Chariots can take down all the toughs. That's great. Then we're going to follow up with the Dragon Ambush. But always be prepared out there, man. You don't want to be that dude with the shitty candy and all the kids are egging your house and stuff. All right, opponent was not frightened by our previous attack. Let's see if this one's enough to bring a little bit of fear in their eyes. The downside here is he can block our units with his toughs and then prevent some of that heal. So it looks like we'll shoot up to 9. It might be enough for the next turn, but probably not. Probably not. He's got that scout equipment in hand. He hasn't seemed real interested in using it, but I feel like that's what's going to boom us here. We can drop Hecarim, but he's just not enough. We can strike up the band. That'll let us get some blockers in, but the unfortunate part's Jack's going to grow a little bit too big. Well, I guess we can get 3 blockers down on the turn, right? Makes a scout attack, we block, he re-attacks. We block the Mirage, and then we can drop an Islander or something. Alright, well, this is as big as it gets. You know what's coming at you. Alright, none of those were overwhelms. What you got for us now? Nothing? You got the big nothing monster? Alright, well, I'm dropping some squad. He shouldn't... This deck doesn't play Cataclysms, right? Cataclysm would be the way for the opponent just to win the game. Maybe we just open. Right? He's got 1 card plus the card he just drew. So he's going to need both cards to specifically be fast speed removal spells. Okay. GG. Hope you learned about some candy while we were talking there, Huey. I'm not that big into it, though. I'm not passing out like full-sized Hershey bars. Don't think you're going to be swinging by Bust's house with getting that kind of choice stuff. We at least just go name brand, though, right? Name brand is good enough. Also, remember to check your children's candy bags, right? You got to open it up. You know, maybe there's free drugs in there. That's apparently... That's apparently the thing that most people are worried about. I'd love it if we crack that bag open and somebody just put a bunch of weed candy in there. Great neighbor, if you ask me. But apparently that's a real concern in some places. Apparently that's where I need to move. But you got that. But most importantly, you just got to go out and make sure that you take the good candy, so the kids just don't get all the good candy. You don't want them to. you don't want them to grow up thinking that they're too special, right? Just getting full-size Hershey bars and shit. And so you say, no, these circus peanuts are for you. Say it's just something in an orange wrapper, a Jolly Rancher. You shouldn't have stopped by your grandma's house, son. All right, the battles are happening. We're taking 4. He did pick up these daring poros, which are going to be slightly annoying for our Shadow Apprentice, but otherwise this turn's okay. This is the kind of spot where we just like never have blockers because the onslaught of shadows in team just don't provide anything on the opponent's turn. So our decision's like, I think we're just stuck with the Foyer. Again, like the problem you can run into with these is just like not having, or you can have not dudes on your opponent's turn, and then on your turn you can have too many dudes. And so it's kind of like a delicate balance. But I think here I'm happy to get the Foyer on board, since we are battling with both dragon ambushes. We really love to have a Shark Chariot, but I think the opportunity to get these guys going is just a little bit more important than trying to get a couple of points of damage in now with the Onslaught of Shadows. We'll prevent where we can. We gotta save some of this board space anyways next turn, right? If we're gonna generate a dude with the Foyer and then play an Onslaught of Shadows, that takes up 2 spaces, so we could technically have 1 guy on board, but I think we should probably just go ahead and prevent. Then the thing to watch here with these dragon ambushes is they don't actually take up space on your board. Is if you want to dragon ambush, the free attackers just start out in the middle, so you can have a completely full board and then still get the dragonlings going. All right, but let's start the fun stuff. Hook, line, and sucker. All right, friend, about to send some more dudes your way. Gain 8 health while we're at it. That's pretty cool. Oh, we only get to deal 1 to Victor? I haven't seen that interaction before. That's kind of lame. Big lame-o over here. Knowing how the rules work and stuff. Get that out of here. That's a big old Victor. Jeez. How did he get so big? Really played that many spells? We just dead? Is that what's about to happen? Is he just bringing it? Looks like we're just dead. He's got that nice 20 piece coming at us. GG, my dude. GG. Take back all the candy treats I had for you. Another real meme in the life of FTP Bust is when I was little. I don't remember when these movies started. It had to have been when I was in like the single digits, so it would have been like the late 80s or the early 90s. There were the Ernest movies. Now I barely remember what the deal with Ernest was. Maybe you other boomers out there will remember it, but there was Ernest P. Worrell, I believe his name was, and he was in a variety of shenanigans. I barely remember, but the one that's important to the story was the movie Ernest Scared Stupid, and he goes and gets into some kind of hijinks or shenanigans, and then eventually the Muckmen turn up. And so when I was growing up, like we weren't like poor, but we weren't rich either. It was kind of a treat for the family to be able to go out to the movies. I don't think it was so much for like my family; they weren't that big of a struggle for money, but it definitely was for like my grandparents, and then that ties into the remainder of your family. And so my mom still had it, the belief that it was like a really big event for us to get to go to the movies, and so that was what we did for Halloween that year. We went and watched Ernest Scared Stupid in the movie theater. And I remember as soon as the Muckmen turned up, I just started crying. Like, I was so fucking scared and just bawling my eyes out and ready to leave. And since it was like the big movie event of the year, she wouldn't let us leave. Because if we're spending all the money to go to the movie theater and stuff, we're getting our money's worth. And I just remember sitting there crying and crying and crying, and finally it ended. And then as I got later on in life, I started to remember the Ernest Scared Stupid debacle of my youth, and now all my friends make fun of me because we scared by the Muckmen in the comedy movie. We made it through that one. The other one I remember is there was a a Forrest Gump double feature. So you got to go watch Forrest Gump, and then I believe the follow-up movie was Captain Ron. Now I couldn't tell you what Captain Ron was. I think it was something with like Patrick Swayze on a boat or some shit. I don't remember, but I knew that I wasn't gonna watch it, and so with that same idea in mind that movies are the big deal. It's the big treat that if we're spending money on the luxury, we're going to enjoy it all. And I remember just like crying and bawling and throwing a humongous shit fit until she finally broke down and said, "Okay, we're going to leave." I feel like I certainly won the battle, but she was probably devastated by the event. Little pissant FTP bus just crying at Captain Ron until we left. But we're okay now. All right, let's see what we can do here. We reduced the cost on old Hecarim here so that we could get him on board this turn if we want. I'm pretty on board with that idea. I don't think we want these ghastly bands either. If we attack with Hecarim, the two bands and then the two other dudes will get the flip. So let's keep our Foyers. Maybe we should just be overriding the Foyer at this point since Pantheon's just going to kill us next turn. But I think this is fine. Oh, is he going to have the fucking Pantheon for the stun? Ah, that shit's annoying. Alright. Good job. Trying to tell stories of my youth, Maverick Surf, and you're just out here doing dumb shit, drawing 2 copies of Pantheon. Get that out of here. Get that out of here, bruh. You made a 5/5. Good stuff. Okay, takes 4. So, I mean, we'll be able to get a Dragon Ambush off this game, but it's been a bit of a struggle in that we didn't have a Shark Chariot to go with all of this. I guess at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, our Hecarim's not going to be on the board. he's certainly going away. Interesting with the stage hand. Is he just going to open on us? Is that a lethal? Sure is. GG. Boo. Everybody having all the answers. All right, one more. I remember my last Halloween-related story. So I used to. It's not anything spectacular. But I used to work at a bar. I worked the door at the bar when I was in graduate school, and we just basically checked IDs and then did some bar backing. So that's cleaning up bottles and shit, doing cursory cleaning. If somebody threw up in the sink, then I was the one that got to go and clean it. Great stuff. But it's a fun job. You just go get drunk at work every day. It's not. you could certainly do worse, but Halloween was always one of those seasons as to where you don't just have like one night of Halloween out on the bar circuit. You have like 4 and 5 different nights. Like one bar has their Halloween night, then a different bar has their Halloween night. That's like Wednesday and Thursday. Then Friday and Saturday are just huge shit shows, and then Sunday night is usually like the industry night, Halloween night, since all the non-to-fivers, all the day jobbers are out there doing their 9-to-5 thing. And so, anyways, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of shit going on in terms of Halloween rolling around and everything. And so, where this is going is, you're just sitting outside and you're watching all the people walk by with their Halloween outfits on, right? And it could be a bit of a burden to remove the Halloween outfit to go and take a piss, and so there's a fair amount of struggle, if you will, in terms of going to the bathroom and doing it successfully, and do I want to wait in line in the bar? And so what this amounts to is there was a parking lot across the street from the bar, and they have like a brick fence, and so what tended to happen is people would go to the bar, they have their outfit on, and they're like, hey man, we're going to go to the next bar and do some more drinking. And they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to piss, I'm going to try to make it. And so nobody makes it, and So you just always had this like group of people, like usually about 1 to 2 little groups, about an hour, that would be trying to traverse from one bar to the next, couldn't make it, and so they go in that parking lot, start like scurrying out of their outfit, and then just you take a leak in the parking lot, get the outfit back on, and then act like you weren't just taking a piss in the parking lot. You just give them a little wave whenever they come out, and there's like, oh, I guess I've been caught. You done seen me. But nobody ever got in trouble for it, so that was nice. Police didn't want to get involved in that shit. All right, though, what are we doing here? The worrisome part here is we're in our last game is not having an ephemeral on the board, right? We got our shark chariot nice and dead. I worry that if we go for the sparring student into Glenkeeper, that our opponent's going to have a mystic shot or something and kill our sapling, and we're not going to get our shark chariot back. So I'm going to lead out here with Fareth. We'll just go ahead and make him big. Then we'll drop the Glenkeeper afterwards, and so then if opponent's going to try and get into shenanigans here, we should have 2 elusives instead of just 1, or 2 ephemerals. There it is, ephemeral number 2. Look at that. Look at that. Old bust. Here for the story time, but dropping a nugget of knowledge every once in a while. Say, I can do it. I can do this distracted. Indiana Jones. Say, I'm not scared of snakes. So this is the Halloween episode. We aren't scared of that shit. All right, bringing in the Mystic Shot sounds good to me. So what you got? I'm not entirely opposed to like trying to block the Dragonling with the Sparring Student and then playing Glimpse from Beyond, but well, if he's gonna take that away from us, then it kind of is what it is. So here, we need to be spending this mana, right? I'm going to put the Shepherd's Authority onto the Glenkeeper since it's the less likely one to be blocked. I don't want to have to equip first. We're just going to have to see what we draw. This Glimpse from Beyond is not particularly good, but this is what I was not wanting to do, is having to pan a pain to hit the Nightfall, but kind of is what it is. Probably just going to Glimpse Beyond away this Sparring Student in the middle of combat, but we'll have to see how the units shake out. The thing to watch for with this would be if we had the 10 damage from our fearsomes, right? If we had 10 from the Glenkeepers, and then we could push the Dragonling off to the right to get the damage in. Not the case with this board, so we'll just kind of let this Dragonling go where it goes. But if you had the 10 damage to get in, we could punch for it. Another Shark Chariot? Don't mind if I do. It's like we should most assuredly be able to cast Dragon Ambush next turn. Now, whether or not that Dragon Ambush is capable of resolving due to denies and stuff, that's a different story. But we're certainly well positioned to at least cast it, which is good. Okay. All right, Fan Club President comes in. He's going to be out of the deny mana now, so this should be pretty close to lethal. He can block a 4 attack. He can block a 4 attack shark. Then he should be at exactly 10.
Look at my squirrel pin.
Got him. GG. And so yeah, I think that this set of games was pretty on point for what I expected. Again, like you look at all the stats on this, and it doesn't run over 50-50. It's at a negative win rate against Vayne. It's at a negative win rate against Seraphine. I'm really curious where the popularity of this deck comes from. If it was just something as to where people are tired of playing the two big ones out of the new set, or if there was a content creator or two that came out on like day 1 or day 2 and said, here's my 80% win rate with this deck, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. As if people look at the tier lists and see the deck up at the top and go and play it. I'm not entirely certain where all this came from, but it's not a particularly strong deck in my opinion. That's not to say it's not good in best of 3. Best of 3, you can kind of pick and choose some scenarios to where it gets better, but in this meta of Vayne and Seraphine doubled up in best of 3, I don't think this is a good choice there either. But in terms of having stuff for Halloween, getting our spooky boys on the board, visiting the opulent foyer where all the scary ghosts live and stuff, I think this was pretty successful. And so that's going to do it for us today. I had fun with this one. I hope you did too. Because again, that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope your Halloween was wonderful. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. Had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.